The Premier just released a video address, and there's a few things that stood out. She says she wants to change how Alberta manages its money, in that she wants to save now so that there's more to spend later. Now, let's break it down. First, if you were counting on that income tax cut, that's not happening this year.
We will cut personal income taxes, saving every Albertan $760. That's over $1,500 per family.
During the 2023 provincial election, the United Conservative Party promised to create a new 8% tax bracket on the first $60,000 that you earn. It was supposed to begin this year. Now we don't know when it'll start. Smith might be trying to hold on to that extra money because she wants to change how Alberta manages its finances. Alberta is grappling with two big cost drivers: inflation and a growing population. Smith says she's told her finance minister to restrain spending increases, so it doesn't quite keep up with those cost pressures. Now, the Premier is quick to point out that these are not spending cuts. But critics who want the government to invest more in public services like healthcare and education will argue that these feel like cuts. But why is she holding back spending? Smith says the province is too dependent on revenue from oil and gas, which fluctuates wildly each year. And she doesn't want to raise or introduce any new taxes. Instead, the Premier is proposing short-term penny pinching to bolster Alberta's long-term savings and turning her sights to Alberta's Heritage Fund.
It is time for our province to implement a long-term strategic financial plan that gets us to a stable, balanced budget each and every year, with predictable and stable revenues to fund our core social programs.
Alberta started the Heritage Fund in 1976 to save some oil revenue for the future and generate interest. But successive governments have shown an underwhelming commitment to building up that fund. Alberta's Heritage Fund is forecast to be worth more than $25 billion by March 31st. Compare that to Norway's Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is currently worth more than $2 trillion Canadian. Smith wants to aggressively build up the Heritage Fund so the province can use the interest to pay for public services. She wants the fund to be at least 10 times its current value, amassing $250 billion or more by 2050, and pay down more debt because Alberta is getting dinged by rising borrowing rates. Of course, there are plenty of questions, like what happens if Alberta has a really expensive disaster, like wildfire or severe drought? And how will the province decide how much to spend and how much to save? We should find out more on Budget Day. That's February 29th. Janet French, CBC News, Edmonton.